Ladies and gentlemen, more Black families are choosing to homeschool their children, citing the pandemic and racism. And actually, if you look at the data, Black children actually do exceptional when they are doing homeschooling because they're not under any stress or pressure from a Karen teacher and some asshole racist students that were trained to be racist by their parents. They don't have to deal with none of that. And because there's no pressure, they do way better and they excel. During the pandemic, Black children were excelling at school because they were at home. They didn't have to deal with the class, they didn't have to deal with Karen, the teacher, none of that. So, this is December 13th, 2021 from NPR. I'm going to play this audio for you.
It's a common perception that white evangelical families are most likely to homeschool their children, but a growing number of Black families have started teaching their kids at home, especially during the pandemic. Kyra Miles from member station WBHM reports on why some of those families in Alabama are taking their children's education into their own hands. Once it set in for D-Day Kedra Griffin that her kids wouldn't be going back to public school in March 2020,
I don't know, it was like a light bulb moment. And ultimately, what I realized is that the pandemic just gave us an opportunity to do what we needed to do anyway, which is homeschooling.
3 things made Griffin decide to start. First, she wanted to protect her kids from racism and bullies. She also wanted them to understand their cultural history.
And number 3 is our freedom. I want to have time to cultivate my children's African American, their Nigerian history and culture in them first before anybody tries to tell them who they are.
She says COVID might have been her catalyst for homeschooling,
but it has not been the reason that we kept going.
The Census Bureau reported that in April 2020, 3% of Black households homeschooled their children. And by October that same year, it was up to 16%. Those numbers might not be completely accurate because a lot of kids were learning at home in 2020. So the census clarified its survey question partway through that period. But even so, Joyce Burgess, who founded the National Black Home Educators, says thousands of families have joined that organization since 2020.
I think you're going to see more and more parents, Black parents, homeschooling their children like never before.
Homeschooling in Black households can be its own unique form of activism. Cheryl Field Smith is a professor at the University of Georgia. She studies how Black mothers use homeschooling as a form of resistance.
We are combating the leftovers from slavery. This idea of white supremacy and the inferiority of Black people lingers today. We are overcoming racism through homeschooling. I don't think white people can say that.
Take school discipline. Data from the U.S. Department of Education in 2014 found that Black students were suspended at 3 times the rate of white students. Jennifer Duckworth co-founded the Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham so more homeschooling families of color could find and support each other.
The African American and the African culture, we are the culture that has been homeschooling our children since the beginning. And so I feel like it's just in our DNA.
For a long time, the country put up barriers that made it hard for Black people to get an education. So learning was always a community effort. Duckworth has 3 kids, and she's been homeschooling them for several years already. They participate in a lot of the Black homeschooling group's activities, like the debate club and field trips. The group has helped Duckworth's 10-year-old son, Alexander, make new friends.
It just feels great to be around kids like me, so they don't always have to be alone like the odd person out.
Last month, the group held its first homeschooling summit. Duckworth says in just 3 years, the Black Homeschoolers of Birmingham has grown from 2 families to 70. For NPR News, I'm Kyra Miles in Birmingham.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. You went from 2 families to 70? Wow. That's a good thing. I think it's going to catch on because the pandemic is just going to keep going. And the thing is, we don't know what variants are going to pop up in 2022. So I do agree with them. At some point in time, you got to make a decision to either let your kids continue to go in these schools and get bullied over their race, or get them out and you take full control. What are they going to do? They can't do nothing. And they sure can't stop you from teaching your children what you want to teach them. They have no control over that. So these statistics can make parents and caretakers of Black children distrust the education system. And it should be distrusted because they're not even teaching you the truth. I could see if they were coming clean in the school and teaching the children right. No, these people are scheming and trying to get stuff out. Don't want this taught, don't want that taught. You don't need that kind of crap. You don't need that. You should be able to teach your children what you want them to know. Okay. So I like this concept of what these Black families are doing. I really do. And I hope that the momentum continues to grow among Black families across the country to homeschool. I really think, for your child's mental health, and they got the right to be in an environment where they can learn. And in many of these schools, it's just not a right setting for Black children to learn in. But y'all, please tell me what you think. I think this is a great story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.